All righty, here we are. Hello, Ryan. Thank you for joining me. How are you doing today?
Hey, Amy, I'm great. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm great. And I'm so excited that we can get together and share some updates and help our viewers, our parents, perhaps some students with, 5 tips that juniors can take now to stay on track with upcoming college applications to make life easier. And I thought of asking you this question. So, first of
Just five
all,
tips, by
if
the way. We could give 20, right?
ju- I we could do 20, we could do 50. But before we get into it, and before like the first question I have for you is, could you, especially for any new parents who will be watching this, I know we have some wonderful repeat viewers, and I can say, yeah, Ryan Clark, awesome college consultant. But can you just, explain what it is you do for our audience? Introduce yourself a little bit.
Sure, sure. I am Ryan Clark, as you mentioned. I am the owner and CEO of Clark College Consulting. I've written two wonderful books, an Amazon bestseller about college planning.
Okay.
I've been in the industry for more than 17, 18 years now, and I've worked with thousands of students all throughout the world, helping them with select, applying, and getting into their favorite college for less than you ever dreamed possible.
That's amazing. Yes, thank you so much. And you know, I know there have been a lot of changes. I mean, you and I, this is probably going on year 3 of meeting, and if not
Yes.
longer. I know we met before that, but consistently doing Facebook Lives. I mean, 3 years ago at this time was 2020, and here we are trying to help parents navigate, just keep our noses above the water of
Yeah,
COVID and so many changes. And we still are experiencing some effects of that. I mean,
definitely.
from to what extent does the ACT, SAT hold weight, even GPA, to, big time changes with the college admissions landscape. So
Yep.
before we get into some of those changes, like what is, the ideal state for a junior now to be in? So let's say it's October. So we know October 15th
Right.
is the early application. A lot of our clients, yours and mine, go for those due dates, November 1st. So
Mhm.
give us a little inspiration as far as like who's your happiest, smoothest sailing client? So a junior now, and like let's say they're a senior. Let's say it's October. What does that look like for that client? And parents, when you're watching this, I know a lot of you will watch this on the replay. The reason I'm asking Ryan this is to help inspire you, because this is what you want for your rising senior. So what does that look like from a college consultant's point of view?
Yeah, from a college consultant's point of view, is really from the students' responsibilities to pretty much be done, have all of their applications submitted, and they're just kind of wiping their hands clean and they're going, wow, this was so easy. And I'm so glad I got this done early in the process so I can enjoy my senior year. And that's what I love hearing. But that typically doesn't happen, as we know. But if you can imagine the feeling that they would get if they would take that burden off their shoulders, and all their other friends are just going crazy and they're having to
Yeah,
work through Christmas and Thanksgiving and writing
sure.
essays because they're so far behind and the stress level just keeps going up and up and up. If
Right,
we can avoid all that, we can just enjoy their senior year because there's so much going on senior year,
right.
and they can enjoy themselves during the holidays and just make it so much more relaxing.
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
just takes the stress level from, a 10 down to a 2 if we
yeah.
can do this early.
Right, right. Absolutely. And I always, from a teacher's point of view, say, you know what, guys, a lot of you who will be put on the wait list or in the maybe pile, you better believe those colleges will be looking at those first semester senior grades. So imagine, working with a college consultant like you and having all the applications done. So you can not only enjoy football games, enjoy if you're in the fall musical, enjoy moving up to manager in your part-time job, but enjoy getting the best grades possible as a senior, right? And not having that burden of college applications on your shoulders.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Yeah.
juggling a lot already when it comes to senior year. And,
Right.
you throw these applications in the mix and essays in the mix and interviews in the mix. I mean, you're just juggling too many balls, and it's
Yes.
easy to
Yes.
let everything drop and
Yeah.
fall,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. So that leads me, and you kind of started talking about it already. I mean, you think of like all the things, right? Like, should I be retaking the SAT? Am I even submitting the SAT? Should I
Right.
be trying to be super busy in the summer to amp up my college resume? Should I talk to another teacher about a letter of recommendation? Where do I even know I want to go to school? So here's what I wanted to ask you today. And by the way, I loved the picture you painted of the calm, collect senior, done with applications ahead of time, enjoying senior year, and then
Mhm.
doing as well as possible academically. So, I mean, what is the first step that a junior should take right now? And we have a lot of junior parents talking to us right now. So there's so much out there to do. So from your expertise, your point of view, I mean, can you even answer this? Like what could a parent watching this today, watching on the replay? And again, I want to remind parents that you're offering a free phone consultation, right? If they want to take a deeper dive, what's something they could hold on to, like step one that their juniors could do right now?
Right now, first step I would do is that most young men and women are a little unsure what they want to study in college.
Mhm.
So, one easy thing that we can do now to help our 16, 17, 18-year olds kind of narrow it down a little bit is to do
Okay.
some type of career aptitude test.
Mhm.
And as I mentioned to all my students, when you're doing a career aptitude test, it is not that they're trying to figure out what they're going to do for the rest of their life. And it's
Yes.
not knowing exactly what you're going to study in college. It's just trying to eliminate ones that we know aren't a good fit for them, right?
That's
Just to,
perfect. Yeah, I get that. And now here's a question I have for you. I think that's
sure.
brilliant. And so many students are like, oh, Miss Haskell, I'm undecided, or maybe I want to major in business or
Right.
psychology. And you and I probably have quite a few students who are pretty resolute and they are pretty sure what they want to
Yes.
go into. Here's a question I have. From your college consultant point of view,
Mhm.
do you feel like when a student does have at least an inkling, a field like business or education or law,
Yep.
they if they do have an inkling of what they want to do, does that help them get in? And then number two, where does that show up on their college application?
Sure. So, does it help them get in to know their major? Not necessarily. Some colleges, when they're looking at college, their freshman class, they definitely consider the student's major. Like NC State is very,
Mm,
that's one of the schools that really look at your major when you're applying to NC State. So, it
okay.
might be harder to get into NC State as an engineer as opposed to a different major, or a computer science
Mhm,
major as opposed to a different
mhm.
major.
Okay.
Chapel Hill, for example, they don't care what the major is. And so it really just depends upon the college. I think that's what you're asking. Is that kind of what you're asking?
That's really interesting. So, yes, it is what I'm asking. So, thank
Okay.
you. So, for example, is it because some of these colleges students are applying to like a specific school within the college and so they kind
Exactly.
of have these numbers like okay we have so many for engineering, so many for history. So okay, that's
Right.
interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
And not
Yeah.
only that, some of these colleges have spent years and years and years developing these majors, and they're expensive. Like,
Right.
let's say the College of Textiles at NC State. Well, that's not
Right.
right now in this day and age a very sexy thing to get into. But
Right.
NC State has put a lot of resources and energy and money into that, and they just don't want to let it go, right?
Right. Right.
So it might be easier to get into like the College of Textiles than it would be to get into another college because there's not as many students trying to get into that major, and
I
they
get
still
that.
would
Right.
like that major. Does that make sense?
Right. It does
Yeah.
make sense. However, at some schools you're saying that doesn't really apply. They right.
No, no, not apply. Like at Chapel Hill, for example, it doesn't
Right.
apply. So you don't really declare a major until I think after your sophomore year.
Right. Right.
And so if you're going into business, and I've had a few students do this where they applied, got into Chapel Hill, and then reapplied to get into the business school and didn't get in
Yeah.
the first time around.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, right. That's really interesting. So I would think that would be another reason I know I would want to hop on the phone with you if I was a parent because you readily know that information, especially for, I mean, you and I probably have, students that apply to like, there's like 10, or seven or similar schools within what, like a 4-hour drive of the Charlotte area. And I could say
Yeah.
the same thing for, my old area of Chicago. There's probably, a lot of Big Ten and then some smaller schools. So,
Right.
okay, that's really, I think, helpful. I mean, I would add to that, and I'm going to ask you what a second step students could take is juniors could take. But I mean, I feel like even from students I've worked with who do or don't have direction for what they want to major in or what careers they want to go in, that can inform the strategy for their essays also. So I think it you don't have to, of course. I mean, so many people think they want to major in one thing and wind up, or they don't really discover that to college till college, and that's okay. That's what
Right.
college is for in some
Exactly.
regards.
Right.
However, and that's actually, some Facebook Lives we could do. Like if you don't know what you want to major in, could your
Mhm.
entire application, including your essays, take one path? If you do know what you want to major in, how could that work in your favor? That's something we could talk about for another time, as usual, which that comes up whenever you and I are talking. So whether you know what you want to major in or don't, how can that help juniors with their overall college application strategy? So we'll bank that. That's fabulous. So Ryan, from a college consultant's point of view, what would you say is step number two that parents of juniors can really hone in on right now? Because the
Right.
goal is that the fall is easier. It's less stressful. Kids are getting along with their parents more because they're done with this. So what should they focus on next?
I would say who they might want to ask for letters of recommendation.
Mhm,
Start
mhm.
generating that list, start thinking about who you might want to ask. And if you don't know, if you have kind of an idea and you really don't know your teachers, this is the time to get to know these teachers. They are human beings. Spend some time with them before class, after class. This is the time to build those relationships to try to get those letters of recommendation, and then ask before the beginning of or before you go on summer break. So beginning of
Yeah.
before
Yes.
senior year, right? Ask sometime
Yes.
between now and summer break.
Right.
But this gives you enough time to narrow down the list, start, for lack of a better term, buttering up the teachers and getting them to get to know them better and let them
Mhm,
know you better, for lack of a better
mhm,
term.
mhm.
And really just ask them, because it depends upon each high school and each teacher how they
Yeah.
do it,
Yeah.
right? So some high schools you have to ask before
You
you
have
go
to.
off
Right.
for summer break, and
Right.
other high schools you have to fill out a form and you have to
Right.
turn the form in.
Right.
Sometimes it's up to the teacher, and the teacher might
Yeah.
have you fill out this Google Doc or
Right.
submit a resume. So you want to find all that information out before summer
Mhm.
break, and this is the time to do that.
Yeah, this is the time to do that. And two things there. I think it's super important that students know how to approach teachers, how to ask them, and then furthermore, how to respond if the teachers do have their own system. Like, okay, John, of course, I'd be happy to write you a letter of recommendation. Or, well, maybe we need to think about that because you had a C in my class, but you're a really good kid. But as far as the teacher's own system, maybe it's putting the ball back in the student's court to do some
Mhm.
reflection to help that teacher out, because usually a full-time teacher has minimum 125 students, right?
Right.
So 5 classes of 25 kids, that's bad, right? So what is the best way to ask your teacher? Not like, hey, Mrs. Brown, can you please write my college letter of recommendation? But what
Mm.
information can you, the students? So I think there's a lot there, and I know we can take a deeper dive. And I know that's something that you and I both would be happy to offer to parents for free on our phone calls that we're offering up for a short time period. So I think that's fabulous, especially it's so timely, Ryan, for juniors right now to think, like, not just because they got an A in a class, to think what teacher really knows me, or how can I, in the time that's left, how can I help them if there's some kind of connection, get to know me, so
Right.
that teacher recommendation can be amazing. So that teacher
Yeah.
recommendation can be awesome. Okay, so from a college consultant's point of view, remember, we are trying to help our parents and students here today with these tangible steps that they can take now, be really focused and committed so that the fall is so much more enjoyable, so that they increase their chances of getting accepted. So what would you say from your point of view, whether it's difficult or easy, would be step number three?
Step number 3 would be researching colleges and start creating that college list.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Now
we
tell
wanna
me about
start
that.
yeah, start aligning their interests and their goals and start exploring college websites, attending virtual college fairs,
Okay.
talk to current college students, use online resources, do college visits. I always talk about social fit, academic fit, financial fit.
Ah,
That's still
yeah, you
important.
do. Yeah. Yeah.
Figure out what these are and start narrowing it down. Don't wait till the fall to do that. This is the time to do it.
I think that's so important. And I really love what you said, even sneaking it in there, because it's something that you do such a great job with, but it helps parents and students break this down as far as college fit. And you're like, oh, what does that mean? Fit. But that's really important. And if you look at
Very-
social fit, so what does that really mean? Um,
yeah,
Academic fit, and then, of course, financial fit. And you know, these kids have to really look carefully at just because X school was great for their close family friends or
right,
an older sibling or a cousin or a parent. You know, why was it a fit for that person and is it a fit for the applicant? And if it's
right.
not, that's okay. But what I'm hearing from you is let's identify that now before going through all the essays, before writing all the activities. Let's identify that now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gotta
I
do
think
it,
that's
gotta do it. I mean, we could like
I
you
think
said, we could
that's
spend an hour just on that, right?
or we
So,
could.
yeah, we could. We don't, but we certainly could.
Yeah.
So, for example, to your point, when I talk to, South Carolina, students will say, "Yeah, it's a good school," but I tell them, like, "Yeah, South Carolina has, like, the number 2 rated international business, college degree in the United States, in the whole United States." And it's not necessarily the name of the overall school. We have to look at each individual department or college to see if those colleges put resources in the major that the student is looking into. So
Mm,
this is where we're getting into the deep dive.
mm,
Not picking colleges based upon where girlfriends are going or boyfriends or has the best basketball team. I mean, really going in and saying, okay, is this a really good fit for you, and
right, right,
what does that mean? So
right, right. And again, I mean, parents out there, I think that putting the time in now, putting time in on the back end with kind of this stuff that maybe seems heavy, but taking a deep dive now prevents unhappiness in the future and better secures students feeling like the colleges where they uh, got into and where they're deciding to go is a great fit. And knowing about perhaps some things that they don't like, but just like a relationship, I mean, nothing's perfect. So at least taking a deep dive with someone like you can help them be informed.
yeah, I always
Yeah.
use the analogy of dating. It's almost like
Right.
marriage is, I mean, picking a college is like marriage, right? I mean, that's the commitment. But right now we're just kind
Right.
of dating the colleges. We're
Yeah.
trying them out. We're seeing if we're
Absolutely.
compatible, right? So that's kind
Right.
of what we should be doing now. We should be dating these
Yeah.
colleges.
Right. Right. I think what would be so interesting to hear from your point of view, and I know this might be like tricky,
Mhm.
but you and some other fabulous college consultants seem like not aggravated, but almost like don't just go by. So many students just go by the name, right? If it's so difficult to get into, and that's what lures kids to apply there without
Right.
the college being a true genuine fit.
Oh
And
yeah, happens all the
what
time, right?
schools well, oh, I know you're like, I mean, don't even get me on my soapbox. And so I guess the question is like, I'm sure there are books out there, but I mean, this is fabulous. Like, what are like hidden gem colleges like
Oh my
that?
gosh,
Like,
we could spend
I-
so much time on that.
okay, that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, how lovely, like to know that, and perhaps that would help mitigate this problem with thousands of kids applying to schools that they're probably not gonna get into, and they spend so much time and financial resources because it's like that name, it's a magnet to a refrigerator, right? But once they, yeah. So I think that would be really interesting. Okay,
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
cool.
That's a great topic. We should definitely delve into that a little bit more. one of these days.
Yeah. I mean, that could be like a whole that could be your 3rd book.
Could be. I did talk about that some of that in one of my books.
Okay. Okay. That and when you if you can go back and I would love it if you could put the titles. I bet the titles or the Amazon links for your books so
Oh,
parents
yeah,
who
I
listen to
have
this
one.
can
I was gonna
purchase them.
look at my bookshelf up here to see if I had one handy, but I don't have,
Yeah.
any available. Oh, wait, here it is. So,
Yeah. Let's
this is the
see.
first one. I don't know if you can see this or not.
Oh, yes. College Age for Middle Class America. College
Yep.
Aid for Middle Cla yes, yes.
Yep.
That's
So that was,
fabulous.
um, that's, it's amazing how many people call me just from reading that book that was published, gosh, almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's still a very pertinent book. And we talk about that in that book about name recognition. And, some of the analogies that I used in the book is that if you looked at like the last 50 years of all the Fortune 500 CEOs, most of them didn't come from name
Yeah.
brand schools, if you
Right.
will. Most of them didn't come from
No.
the Ivy League
Yeah.
schools. And
Right.
it's just not CEOs. You're talking about in anything you look at, whether it's, I don't know, any successful people like, or if you look
I
at
know.
academics and go, okay, let's look at the Nobel Peace Prize and see where these individuals
Right.
went to college. Most of them
Right.
didn't come from name brand schools per
Right.
se or large. You would expect it to see only just Harvards and the Yales and the Princetons, right? But that's not the case.
Totally.
Um, and so it's nice to see that data because what's happened when we grew up or when our parents grew up, their parents were in kind of the industrial revolution, right? And then during the
Mhm.
industrial revolution, if you really wanted to become a CEO, it was more important to go to those schools,
Right.
right? They only recruited from those certain schools. And so our parents learned that and they passed it on to our parents.
Mhm.
And our parents passed it on to us. Well, we're not in the industrial age anymore, right? We're in the computer
Mhm.
age. We're in the
Mhm.
technology age, and having to go to certain schools, uh,
Mhm.
that no longer resonates
I
anymore,
know. Right.
right? And
Right.
so, fortunately, we were kind of taught by our parents, which was taught by so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And the times have changed. We have to educate our students that way.
Okay. So when this is over, I just thought of the most amazing title for like workshops we're going to give and another book. Like it's so compelling. So don't let me forget it because I want to give my 2 tips in here and then wrap it up. But I think that's fabulous. I think it is um I think it's a message a lot of people know. And I think the data will help that message become even stronger. And where I'm concerned is about the kids and their well-being and feeling confident and secure in applying to colleges that don't have a name brand, but feeling
Right,
confident and good that they can be happy and successful with that.
right,
Yeah. So
right.
more later on that. Okay. So I'm just gonna I know we're gonna wrap it up in like a couple minutes here. So I think these tips and I've written them so they're showing up on Facebook, YouTube, which I don't even like see this really, and I believe LinkedIn, which I'm rarely on, but I know a lot of people are. So as far as your essays go, there are 2 new areas that new in that they've been percolating and organically showing up for the way that my team and I work with students, but I thought I would get them out there today because they're growing in importance, especially with the changing landscape of college admission. So is thank you for your 3 tips. I think they're amazing. And be sure to put your link later so parents can book a free call with you, Ryan, because I know I would be hopping on there as soon as possible. So again, the goal of this live today is to help juniors and parents have the most pleasant, stress-free fall, right? By completing these steps. And thank you for these 3 steps you've given us. So as far as the essays go, I think what's really important, and I gave a workshop as you did last week at a school, and I said, it's not just the essays. That's one small slice of the pie. So here's the question. How can your essays inform the rest of your application and vice versa? So what do I mean by that? So the step is your strategy, your brand, and that's for your application. I'm typing this right now, as well as for your essays, as well as for your activities list. Um, the question is like, how is the message that you're conveying about yourself through examples, through details, through the tone, through possible
Mhm.
humor in the written portion, which isn't a
Mhm.
test score, isn't a GPA. How is it enhancing what you're filling out about yourself in the
Right.
other parts of the application? Because there was an article published 2 falls ago in the Wall Street Journal, and it was a big spread, and the author interviewed 3 great colleges, I mean, well-balanced colleges, and they all said that what the college admissions officers what drives them crazy is this. In the essays, you have a student saying, "And I can't wait to become a vet or
Mm.
become a doctor. It's my passion." But there's nowhere in the rest of their application that indicates an inclination for the sciences, for math, for volunteering at a veterinarian, for volunteering in a hospital or for a doctor's office. So it's like this big gap. And that could be for a variety of things. Like, I really am so interested in becoming a teacher, but this student doesn't show any experience
Mm.
working with children or in that specific discipline, maybe a math teacher, like working at mathnasium or helping tutor like at risk kids with basic math. So I think that is my tip here. What is your strategy for your brand? And there's a lot behind that. Like, how do you dig into that? And that's what my team and I help students do. And then finally, as far as your essays go, I think a really good tip, and these light bulbs went off for me over the past few weeks when so I have parent phone calls before I decide if, a student's a good fit for total writing. And we
Right.
can go into like what do I say I don't think it's a really good fit. But some of the parents have good ideas because they know their kids really well.
Right.
And sometimes we think like, oh, that's not going to work. Is that what the student wants to write about? But I'll tell you what, the past few parent phone calls I've had, when the parent is describing the student, in my brain, the story is starting. And
Mm.
so, my tip number 5, as far as the essays go for parents and students, is this, and this is easy, immediate success. Is get your notebook or get your phone in your notes and brainstorm possible topics that best showcase what you want the colleges to know about
Mhm.
your students. And don't be scared to do that. I mean, brainstorming means don't hold back, don't edit. But what if they think I'm weird? But what if I shouldn't talk about soccer? What if this story happened at camp, but they say don't talk about camp? If that's what comes up for you or your student, there's something there. And I can help bring out the magic in it. But my point is for step number 5, do the brainstorming and don't be afraid to jot down what's showing up for you now. Now, could there be a different message as far as coming up with your essay topics in September? Yes, right? Like fast track to essay topics, which will be a Facebook Live that we can do then. So
Mm.
that's what I wanted to say. Go ahead and brainstorm possible essay topics and don't hold back.
Yeah.
So
And to that
yeah,
to that point, Amy, I would say that brainstorm, you might not use every one of those for your personal statement, but you might can use some of those later when you're writing your
100%,
supplemental essay.
100%. Yeah. And that's a lot of we spend a lot of time. I call it like the pre-writing stage. Like, I don't have my
Yep.
topics yet. I'm like,
Probably the
yeah,
most
but
important.
you know what? Yeah. Yeah. Just like the like the fit, right? Like
Mhm.
all this back end work, like the work on researching colleges. That's a great like overarching message. So I think we'll wrap it up with that. And is there anything else that you want? I know we've done like a ton here. Is there any other golden nugget you wanted to share, or what is, please tell us the best way to get a hold of you for the parents who want to get that free phone call.
Yeah, I like to remind my students and my parents. I think I'll make a T-shirt that says this. It says something like, "The student makes the college doesn't make the student." Right? We just have to remind our parents this. The student will actually make the college. If the student's excited about going to that college, and maybe it's not the most name brand school, but they just do awesome there, and
Yeah.
they get to meet their professors and they do research, they're going to find fantastic jobs, right? They made the college, right? As opposed to if
Mhm.
they just go to a named school and they hated there, don't do well academically, that's not going to guarantee them success moving forward. So the student makes the college doesn't make the student.
Okay, so when are you getting those t-shirts made?
Soon, soon.
I'm not kidding. Please, I'll take a size medium. And then when you have Clark
As I
College
get made, you'll
Consulting,
be the
do it.
first person who gets it.
That's fabulous. That's huge. Like, copyright that right now.
Let's do it.
So,
Do it.
yeah, yeah, let's do it. Okay, Ryan. Well, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining us. I know a lot of people will be watching the replay, and if you do, please leave a comment. Please ask Ryan or I a question. We will be sure to get back to you shortly. You can always message us here on Facebook. You can go to Ryan Clark College Consulting has a fabulous website. He's great about getting right back to you parents. Same with my team and I. So we can't wait to hear from you, and we will see you soon. Thank you for joining us, and please be sure to leave us a question. Bye-bye.
I guess